Good morning, gang. Happy Saturday morning. Wow. That's all I can say. What a week. And no, I'm not talking about the wild swings in the stock market or the craziness of protests. I'm talking about the absolute catastrophe that Congress has turned into be. After, 6 weeks of shutdown, we finally come back and the sky is falling in Congress. It's hilarious. I'm going to go through a few things, but just overnight, we had a couple of huge developments. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the congresswoman from Georgia, announced she is resigning, effective January 5th. I'll get to that in a second, because that's important. She's citing her ongoing feud with Donald Trump and, I don't want to make Georgia go through a nasty primary if Trump's not going to endorse me and poor me crap, okay? No question, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been a stalwart for conservative principles here in her 5 years so far as a congresswoman. But all of a sudden to take her ball and go home is a little silly. You wonder what's going to happen when you start arguing with the administration, which is fine, okay? I mean, there's plenty of conservatives who disagree with things that Trump says, me included, okay? I've mentioned numerous ones, though I'm not in Congress, obviously. But you could take a Rand Paul, you could take a Tom Massey, Christ, I can't think of his name off, Chip Roy. There's things they disagree with. It's okay, no problem. Maybe I agree with them, maybe I disagree with them, but they have their right. That's why they go to Congress. The difference between Republicans and Democrats in Congress is Democrats are bobbleheads. They just do whatever dear leader, Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries, tells them to do. Rarely do you ever see a vote come where the Democrats aren't all on the same side. Independent thinking is not a qualification to be a Democrat. But when you run out and go, gee, you know what? I think I'm going to go on The View and sit with the cackling hens there and talk about how much I disagree with the administration. When you run to CNN as your first place to go when your panties get in a bunch, you pretty much gave the idea of your colors to the American public in the last 2 weeks, that you flipped. Kind of like Fetterman, Fetterman, all of a sudden, hardcore Democrat, seems to be aligning with a lot of conservative policies, but Marjorie Taylor Greene all of a sudden seems to say, you know what, maybe I'll try out the Democrat side here for a little bit. The funny part was her trying to, it's all about you. I've always believed in term limits. This is one of the reasons I'm going to leave in the middle of a term, right? She didn't say I'm not running for re-election. She said I'm resigning, okay? Term limits all of a sudden have to be 5 years. She was elected in 2020, so she started January 1st, 2021. Her resignation is effective January 5th. If anybody wonders why her resignation is effective January 5th, it's because on January 3rd, she becomes fully vested in her pension, that she'll get her salary for the rest of her life, and she'll get free health care, her congressional health care package, for the rest of her life. Isn't it convenient that it just so happens to be right after she acquires eligibility that she's going to leave? Marjorie, why don't you leave today? You don't need to collect that pension payment, right? You only had $700,000 when you came into Congress. You're now worth $25 million. I think you can afford your own health care, right? No. Grifter. She finally showed her true colors. She played us all for 5 years and now is like, you know what? I'm just going to take the money and run. Okay. That was the first one that came out overnight. Also overnight, this is good too. Real estate in Minnesota is about to get a whole lot cheaper, especially in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. Why? Well, if you saw the reports that came out the other day, hundreds of millions of dollars were scammed by the Somali community through a lot of these food for the needy programs, hundreds of millions of dollars, and sent to Al-Shabaab, a terrorist organization in Somalia. That's where your tax dollars are going. How were they doing it? Oh, you'd have a restaurant that would say, we're serving 40,000 free meals a day. So the FBI put up cameras. And there were 40 people showing up to that restaurant, showing up to the restaurant in a day, but they were serving 40,000 meals. Damn, must have been a whole lot of Rosie O'Donnell's and Jerry Nadler's showing up there, because that's a lot of food to eat. But, yeah, so they uncovered hundreds of $millions in scams of your tax dollars being sent to a terrorist organization in Somalia. I don't know, for some reason I get the feeling that's not going to go over too well. So, last night, President Trump announced the end of TPS, the temporary protected status for Somalians. Yep, okay. You know, the thing that gives them the right to come to the United States, to live, to work, you know, while they're seeking asylum. Okay. And, yeah, that's over. Now, of course, what you're going to have is some federal judge come up and say, he can't do that. I'm issuing an order. And the Supreme Court's going to be like, hold my beer. We've already been through this before with Venezuelans, remember? Trump can remove the temporary protected status of anybody he wants. Ilhan Omar, inevitably, is having a bad day because her constituency is about to go bye-bye. And maybe with a little luck, so will she. You know, after all, she's yearning to sleep on Somali soil again. And Somalia is my home. And I'm only in the United States to represent the interests of Somalia. Good. To little luck, we can take your fake marriage and send you back too. Because by revoking the TPS for all those people in Minnesota, they can all now be deported. Ilhan Omar has to be denaturalized, but I get a feeling that might be coming soon. Right? So we had that one. Of course, yesterday we also had the planned meeting of Zohran Mamdani meeting Donald Trump in the White House. And it was funny because Trump played him like a fiddle. Mamdani was going in there hoping to get some sort of soundbite to use to, look, New Yorkers, I stood up to Donald Trump, you know, blah, he did this. Trump's like, it was a nice meeting. One reporter said, would you call Donald Trump a fascist? And Trump said, go ahead. I mean, it was it, you know. I mean, he completely neutered Mamdani yesterday, which was hilarious to watch because Mamdani stood behind him there in the press gaggle, looking like a deer in the headlights, going, the hell just happened? I wasn't prepared. I figured this was going to be a war. And Trump's just like, yeah, whatever. They asked Trump, would you live in New York City again? Sure, New York City's a great state. Or a great city. Mamdani was expecting him. It's a hellhole under a communist. That's what he was expecting. So he could use all that. Trump's like, nope, everything's good. Because here's the deal. New Yorkers got what they wanted. They wanted a communist Muslim to run the city. That's who they voted for, right? And this is what we want. This is what we voted for. Okay. You got it. No problem. We're not stopping you. May I remind you, you keep forgetting this part, though, liberals. Donald Trump's in the White House because this is what we all wanted. This is what we voted for. Same thing. And that's kind of where Mamdani, they voted for me. This is, I'm going to turn the tables on everything in New York and the people support me. And Trump's like, yeah, they did the same for me on a national level. Oh, shit, that's right. It's kind of funny. So you had that one. I keep going, right? The next, don't make me laugh, Eric Swalwell. You know him, the congressman who was caught sleeping with a Chinese spy. For some reason, he wasn't given the Rosenberg treatment for that one. I have yet to figure out why. Okay. But no, here's a guy who has literally been a traitor. He, amongst, Letitia James and Adam Schiff, and now we have the Seditious Six, are under investigation by the Department of Justice. Swalwell, of course, another one on mortgage fraud. Okay. Swalwell decided he's going to announce he's going to run for governor of California. Like, you don't have it bad enough now with gruesome Newsom. But the only thing I can think of here is Swalwell's trying to stay in power, but get himself out of the federal spotlight. Because it's like, does he honestly think as one of 435 members of Congress, he should be elevated to one of the 50 governors of the country? If he's that delusional, we have a problem. But more likely, he's trying to figure out a way to keep some power and try to get out of the microscope that is the Department of Justice. Oh, I'm going back to California. I live in California. You can't do anything about mortgage fraud. I'm in California. Right. That one ought to be interesting. I don't know. They kept talking a few years ago about, can Trump be the president from jail? I wonder if he can be the governor of California from jail. Because there's a lot better chance that Eric Swalwell does some time in an orange jumpsuit and silver bracelets than there ever was for Donald Trump. Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is funny. I mean, the Seditious Six, I guess the DOJ is now investigating them. The Department of War, the military is setting up an investigative team to bring those that were veterans, those retired veterans, up on charges under the UCMJ, kind of as I talked about yesterday. Yeah. It's been one hell of a week in Washington. Hell, it's been one hell of a 24 hours. And these are the people we have running the show, guys. The corruption is insane. All the laughs, all the comments that have been made over, the last 4 years, about how corrupt of a country Ukraine is. You wonder how much news is going out there and how many people are talking on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, whatever in Ukraine, how corrupt of a country the United States is. Because we sure as hell seem to be getting there. Our politicians are crooks. Newsflash, right? Tell me something I don't know, Pinball. The money is embezzled, laundered, stolen, done whatever, while Americans can't afford housing, struggle to afford groceries, don't even talk about insurance, but yet politicians keep getting richer and richer and richer. What do you think we've all been talking about for years when we say feudalism? You stop and look at this. Marjorie Taylor Greene, 700,000 to 25 million. Nancy Pelosi, I mean, she's got more money than freaking God, okay? All the corruption she has. California, Gavin Newsom's not exactly poor, you know, when Eric Swalwell wants to go there. The funny part in California with that race, you got Katie Porter, who's the total Fruit Loop, you know, put mashed potatoes on her husband's head, that sort of stuff, berates everybody, never misses an opportunity to put her foot in her mouth. She's running the other Democrat. The Republicans you have are Tom Steyer, who's a billionaire, Steve Hilton, who you've probably seen many times on Fox News, CNN, whatever. I mean, he makes the rounds everywhere. He ran last time. And some unknown cop, I don't even remember the guy's name, okay? There's sheriff somewhere. 4 people that everybody know their name and an unknown. Guess who's leading in the polls right now? The sheriff. Interesting, huh? I mean, now granted, the election's a year away and the polls don't mean squat. But it's kind of interesting when the people that most Californians already want to see is the person nobody's ever heard of. What does that tell you about the people that have been heard of? We're on to you. We know you're crooked. Every single freaking one of you. And we're getting closer and closer and closer to cleaning house. And if it ain't at the ballot box, it's going to be with the cartridge box. Pinball out.